complete healing takes more pain. So this is a story about how dry fasting has recovered injuries, physical injuries that I have not completely healed away from my awareness. But before I tell you that, I need to give you the context of the story of how that happened for it to make sense. So stick to the end of the video to get the full context. So I've always done intermittent fasting as a dietary choice. And during this month of Ramadan, I was like, I wonder why the ancients chose to fast, dry fast, right? No food or water from sunrise to sunset. Like, doesn't it make sense to eat during the day and then fast at the nighttime when there's less work and less sun and stresses? So I did a little experiment to see, because different from intermittent fasting, where I usually have lunch and then my last meal is dinner, and then I don't eat from dinner until lunch. So I'm like, let me see what's the difference between starving in the day and eating only at night. So I went about this experiment, and during this 30-day Ramadan month, I thought that, okay, before the month starts, I want to do a crazy cardio exercise. I'm going to run up, do the 7-mile run to this mountain up in nature, and then come back down. And that would be like the last day, because I won't get to exert myself as much. So I went and I did that. And as I was running, this was the last day before I started the fasting experiment. So I was running, and on the way down, so I have like a muscle imbalance. Let me see if I can show you. This is my left side. This is my right side. I'm not sure if you can tell. Anyways, my left side is stronger. The muscles are bigger than my right side, even though I'm right-handed. And there's basically more of my neurology of my left side overpowering my right side. So it's like pushing against my right side, which is why my whole left of my body gets tired faster, more fatigued than my right side, even though it's stronger, because all the neurology is going there. So as I was running, I noticed my left foot was getting more cramped than my right. My right was totally fine. And this is close to the end of the run, as I was going downhill. So I was like, oh, that's odd. And then I remember, oh yeah, I got the muscle imbalance. So I then started putting conscious effort to put more stress on my right leg, so that my right leg could help, carry some of the weight. And because it wasn't trained, by the time I got down, my right leg was busted. And that was fine. It was just a regular run. And the next 2 days afterwards, just expected muscle cramps, as you normally would after a 7-mile run. And then I healed, and it was all good. And I forgot about it. And then during these today's like day 17 or 18 of the dry fast, and I noticed a few days ago, I had completely healed from my muscle cramps during the first 2 days. And then 2 weeks later, I haven't been physically active at all. And I wake up one day in the morning, I just wake out of bed, and I have this weird subtle tension in my knee. It's just like it's like, when you kind of want to crack something. That's how it was. It was like this weird tension. And I tried like cracking my right knee, like it just wouldn't work. It was just annoying, and I forgot about it. And I noticed every time I went for a walk, it would go away. So like, okay, movement helps, but I don't know what's going on. But I didn't pay too much attention. It was just like some weird nerve thing. And then the next 2 or 3 days, it started getting worse, to the point where anytime I moved my knee, it hurt. Or if I was static and then I moved, it would hurt every time I bent it. But if I went for a walk, it would heal. And it got so bad that it was just painful. I actually started getting concerned. I was like, what's happening to my knee? I'm too young for this. Like, well, did I just bust my knee out of, did I just pull a muscle from sitting down too long? What's going on? Because I didn't do anything weird. I slept fine. I woke up one day and there was this tension, and it got progressively worse. And then on the last day, it got the worst it can get. And then I could actually somehow intuitively feel that it was about to fix itself. I don't know how. I'm like, hey, this has reached the absurd level of discomfort, but I feel like it's about to get better. And then throughout that day of its absurdity, it just started to get better, and I could feel it improving. And then the next day it was almost gone, and then today I can barely feel anything at all. And this was I was like, well, what was that? That was so weird. And yesterday I was researching what happens to your body, just out of curiosity. I had no correlation to my knee. I was just searching what happens to your body, like the timeline of when you're fasting like this, dry fast, like, because I was starting to like, getting annoyed at how many more days left, weeks left of this dry fast. I was like, man, when is this gonna be over? And sometimes me learning about something and its benefits kind of re-engages my excitement for it. So I did some research, and it turns out that, so they say when you're fasting, during the first week, it's like, oh, it's the hardest, your body goes through this whatever shock. And then the next week, your stomach and metabolism starts to improve, and your body begins to heal itself. Organs begin to repair their cells. You start to shed out any toxins in your body that were stuck in your body or whatever. Like, I'm butchering the science, but you can just go search it up. And one of the most interesting parts was I noticed on the 2-week frame, so around day 15 or something like that, that's when all the toxins become at their peak, because basically what your body does is it causes flare-ups in order to, re-heal the areas that have not completely healed. So it's like how when you have a fever, you always notice when you're sick that at the peak of your sickness, when you feel like you're about to die, that's when it's like a parabola, right? When you're at the peak of your sickness, fever is the worst, sickness is the worst, the next day starts to get better, because your body is like at peak, fighting all the white blood cells or all the inflammation going on. The cytosis storm, or if that's how you pronounce it, is happening, and then it starts to cool off. And it's funny how even in crypto, it's the same thing. Like, after a parabolic effect, like it gets up and up and up, and then it hits this absurdity level, and then everything comes down to cool off and crashes. So again, I'm not so familiar about how the body works. It's just, these are my observations. And in the 2-week mark, your body will flare up all the injuries and that have not completely healed. So it'll reignite pain, like a physical pain, in order to heal it. And it's like it's searching for all that in your body, and it's like removing all those toxins. And it turns out that most of the toxins are stored in where? Can you guess it? In your legs. So that was crazy. And then I made the connection of everything that had happened. I don't know if the hike was part of this scenario. I don't know if it was just the toxins stored in my legs, but the fact that it was only my right leg, my right knee, that had a flare up and then suddenly went away makes sense, considering 2 weeks ago I had went for that run, and then I had to overexert my right leg, which had zero fatigue, and maybe just got in shock or something, because I could feel I was running downhill, and that puts a lot of stress on your knees. And the dry fast reignited the tension in my knee, because it was a tension, it wasn't a piercing pain, it was like this weird muscle cramp pain, and then it just healed itself. And I remember being so frustrated with my knee, because it's a weird human condition, man. Like, when you're going through a lot of things, and then you have like an added random event that happens that just sucks, like your knee just out of nowhere. It's like, why? Like what could possibly be the lesson? They're just so annoying. It's like you start telling yourself like, why me, and then you heal, and then you get the lesson, and then you're like, oh, that's so crazy. Like, imagine I didn't have that, and I didn't learn about that my knee never fully healed because it was bad. So the fact that that kind of injury existed and I didn't know, what if I did a bench squat and then I broke my knee, or this little flare up while it was painful saved me from a potential further worse injury, fatal injury later down the line? Like, what if I went on a huge hike and then because my knee never fully healed, I could have had a serious injury and then been stuck in a survival experience, or lifting weights or something like that. So some minor injury in the beginning that can seem inconvenient, or even an emotional injury, can be a blessing in disguise, because it's reactivating to heal completely so that it prevents a bigger injury down the line. So that's the lesson from pain and fasting. And never take these little dynamics for granted, because all these are lessons. You learn from the pains, you learn from the wins, the losses. Everything is trying to point you to something, and the real only mental model I can think of is just have gratitude for whatever you're going through. And you won't be able to see it in the moment, but in hindsight, everything makes sense. So, leave you with that. Try this dry fast experiment if you're interested. See you on the next video, my dudes and dudettes. Peace.